Good morning. Now that I have filled myself up with breakfast and morning caffeine, I am ready to rock and roll and do the sightseeing at Bay of Fundy. I mentioned about Bay of Fundy yesterday, but I will give you more details later because I want to keep it a surprise. The tour guy will pick me up from the Maritime Museum, which is about 2 minutes walk from here, and the pickup time is 9 o'clock, and right now it's 8:15. At this time you can see that it's foggy and there was a little bit of a drizzle, and this is supposed to be like this until afternoon, I believe, 1-2 o'clock, and then the sky will open up. It's not terrible because the forecast was for a thunderstorm. There is a lighthouse far from here, but I cannot zoom into that in the dual recording mode. So let me stop the dual recording and I will zoom into that lighthouse. Okay, I believe you can see the lighthouse now on the screen. Here is this mural called Nova Scotian Crystal by the cable wharf on the boardwalk itself. I just happened to come across this place as I was wandering around. Since I have little bit of time, I would like to share my point of view about the city of Halifax. So when I was on the train and on the first night when I had dinner with Mr. Allen, and I told him that I am going to Halifax and I will be sightseeing there. So he said to me that I was going to one of the friendliest cities in Canada, and that's my personal experience over the last 2 days. People have been extremely friendly, especially the person who took us to Peggy's Cove yesterday. He's a young man, only 22 years old. His name is Jack. I thoroughly enjoyed his company yesterday. I mean, he had so many stories to share about Halifax, about the events which took place here. So it was 4.5-5 hours well spent with him. Now coming back to my point of view about the city of Halifax has been visited by Europeans since 1400, and it has been under British occupation, British influence since 1700s, and all the immigration which happened in Canada happened primarily in Halifax. The reason being, it is only the second harbor in the world. The first one is Sydney Harbor and second one is Halifax Harbor that doesn't freeze, and that's why all the ships from Europe would come here. 70% of the land here is infertile, so you cannot do much agriculture, and that's why fishing is one of the main industries here. Since there is not much agriculture or farming can happen here, when the immigrants came, majority of them did not stay in Halifax. For them, Halifax was a door to the opportunities that Canada may bring for them. So that's why the settlers from Europe, or the immigrants from Europe, they stayed here for a while, but then they moved further west. As I was talking about Halifax, so I also want to mention that this place has a lot of history, especially the maritime history. So if that's something that excites you and something you are interested in, you shall consider visiting Halifax. Now, my point of view as to why this city is so friendly is because of few reasons. First of all, it has been an immigrant port, so whoever came from abroad, they were welcomed here, and that kind of became a tradition, or got ingrained in the mindset and nature of people. Secondly, this city has seen some really major incidents. One of the prominent one was Titanic. So when Titanic sank in the Atlantic Ocean in 1912, the dead bodies were brought to Halifax, and There are at least 300 graves here of all those people who perished. I covered that in my day 1 video. So those graves are in Fairview Cemetery. So that was kind of an empathy people built. The next major incident was Halifax explosion, where the neighborhood area close to Halifax Yards was turned into rubble. And the incident or the explosion was so devastating that even the factories that were built out of steel, they flattened. Interestingly, my tour guide yesterday for the Peggy's Cove tour, Jack, his great great grandmother was 2 years old back then, and she survived after being in the rubble of their family house for 2 full days in December in the snowstorm. So that is nothing short of a miracle. And the most recent unfortunate incident which happened was in the year 1998, when a Swiss Airlines flight 111 from New York to Zurich, that flight crashed close to Peggy's Cove. I won't go into the detail of accident, how it happened, what happened. You can go online and read about it, but few things I will certainly share, that there were a lot of influential people on that flight. All the 229 passengers and crew perished. And one detail that stuck with me about that accident was when the plane crashed in the water, it crashed with a force of 350 Gs. So to give you some context, if you weigh 100 pounds and a force of 2 G is exerted on you, you would weigh 200 pounds. So imagine how much force of 350 Gs would be on a human body. When the rescuers reached the crash site, in their own words, there was only one body that was recognizable as a human. I can't even express what tragic sight it would have been for the rescuers. So the place where this incident happened, that has been marked as a grave now, because there are still lots of human remains there, and no activities, be it personal or commercial, is allowed. There is one thing I personally believe is worth mentioning related to that air crash, and I think it's important because it tells what kind of people the Nova Scotians are. So when the crash happened and the people from different countries came to find their loved ones, all the hotels and restaurants were free for those grieving families. They could come and stay there for free, they could eat, they could drink, so there was no money charged of them. This was something positive that came out of tragedy, and that's why I thought it's worth bringing it up in this discussion. All right, I have shared my point of view about the city of Halifax and why I think people are so nice and friendly here. And it's almost time for my pickup to Bay of Fundy, and once I get closer to my destination, I will share more about the Bay of Fundy and why I'm so excited to get there. So until then. All right, here I am at the Bay of Fundy, and you have heard me taking this name several times already, and now it's the moment I should tell you why I was so excited. What you're seeing in front of me, it's not a beach or a seashore, it's the actual seabed. Yes, it's the seabed, it's the sea. And the reason there is no water here, because this is the time of low tide, and Bay of Fundy has the highest tidal range in the world. So by tidal range I mean the difference between the height of low tide and the high tide. So all around the world the average tidal range is about 1 meter, that is about 3 feet, and here in Bay of Fundy it is 12 meters, so almost 40 feet or so. And that's what makes it one of the unique places to visit here in Nova Scotia, and I always wanted to come here since the time I knew of it. So in a little while, we'll go down and take a walk on the seabed. Hopefully, we would be able to see later on the water coming in, and if that happens, it would be an amazing sight to experience. So let's see and hope for the best. An interesting thing I want to share about the tides. Uh, most of us, we believe the tides come in and go. Actually, the tides don't come in and go. Tides are there permanently at the equator, just that the planet Earth moves in and out of it. But for the ease of reference and for common understanding, I will still say the tides are coming in or going out. And in front of me is my friend Jonathan, who is driving us from Halifax. And if you are coming to Halifax and you want to do the sightseeing, you have to contact this guy. I will post his contact information on my video, and I am telling you, if you have to do a tour, you have to do it with him. So few more things about the tides in Bay of Fundy. It takes about 12 hours for the tides to come and go, and in that duration of 12 hours, it displaces 100 billion tons of water. 100 billion tons in 12-hour period. And you may be surprised to hear that much quantity of water can fill the Grand Canyon in the US. I don't know how else to express it, right? I am overwhelmed coming here, exploring this place. Can I have 3 wishes like Genie? It's quite breezy here, but I hope you can still hear me talk. So Bay of Fundy is a big area, right? So we are in this particular place called Evangeline Beach, I believe. So technically it's not a beach, right? It's a seabed where we are, but the name is beach. So there are many other places in Bay of Fundy where you can go, in New Brunswick, in Nova Scotia, but the phenomenon is pretty much the same. And our tour guide Jonathan was telling me, at some places here in Bay of Fundy, the tide reaches 60 feet in height. 60 feet. It's amazing. It's amazing. So while I'm here at Bay of Fundy, I thought it might be a good idea for me to touch the seabed. So here I go. Hey! So here it completes the first stop of my day tour, and as you can tell, it was an amazing experience. As you can see it right now, so much of the seabed, just waiting for the tide to come in. Right now I'm in Kingsport, and if you remember, well, probably you don't, I was on the other side earlier today when we walked on the seabed, and this is the opposite direction. I think the water has started coming. So the high tide has started coming. As you may see that the water is slowly moving up. Here is another lookout point into the Bay of Fundy, and as you may see on the video, that water has started coming further up and up. I will zoom the video and give you a closer view. I think it's a good enough view of water from here. So in couple of hours, all this mud will be covered in the seawater, and then later on it will flow back into the ocean and then come back again in the next cycle. Besides that, this is the valley overlooking the province of Nova Scotia and various cities in it. And at this place they grow Christmas trees, and the Christmas trees from here are shipped to the US, and this is a $450 million industry in this region. So yesterday when I explained to you about the Halifax explosion, so when the incident actually happened, the Canadian government requested a lot of help. The city of Boston was the one that came to Halifax first as rescuers, and to commemorate their help, and as a token of appreciation, 150-foot Christmas tree every year is sent from this place to Boston for Christmas lighting, and that tradition has been ongoing for over 100 years. And people in Nova Scotia take that ceremony of sending the Christmas tree and lighting it up there, take it very seriously and personally, because of all the help that was provided to Halifax during that tragic incident. So there is a little background story about Christmas trees that are grown here. Also on the way we saw a lot of wineries, and a big chunk of ice wine is produced there, and most of those farms are family owned.
Nobody knows what I'm going through. My heart pounding, boom, boom, going slowly.
Yeah.
Speed limit here is 25. So which means I'm doing 10 right now, which means you have to go slow, eh? Especially on a slippery day. You're looking at that house right there, you don't want to hit the house, eh? So you come here slowly. I'm talking at my mind, I'm watching the road, eh? I don't talk too much until I make a left turn, then I start to talk relaxed, eh?
If you have time today, there is a ice cream shop. It's called DD's, like DEE. I went there yesterday, so they had, they were almost sold out with many flavors, but they had sesame seeds and Mexican chocolate, which is spicy.
Cheers.
But cheers
To friendship.
Cheers to friendship.
to the memories.
Memory,
And the
memories.
memories.
And the memories.
Perfect. Yes, thank you. Good health.
So we are at the high tide now, and that's why this wharf, the bay, is completely submerged in water, and that's how it is going to be for next 6 hours, and around 9:30 tonight then it will all be sand and rocks. The water will be gone by then. So as I said earlier, it keeps happening twice a day, 2 low tides and 2 high tides. And my tour guide Jonathan, he was mentioning a couple of minutes ago that sometimes you can even see the whales jumping in and out of the water. So I don't know if I'll be able to catch a glimpse of whales, but nevertheless I am here, and I'm glad to know that the whale watching can be done here as well. Listen to the sound of waves crashing into rocks, and the water is even splashing up until here.
I don't know what the weather there.
The reason these rocks have been kept so high here is because sometimes, especially when there is a super moon or a full moon and the windy conditions, the waves can crash all the way up to here. So that's about 40 feet from the base, and that's the reason the place has to be protected. And by the way, you may think that I am crazy. I am planning to go to Peggy's Cove tomorrow again. So let's see, hopefully that plan materializes.